Hey everyone, welcome back. There's a lot going on in the weather world right now, so let's get right into it. We have two major winter storms barreling toward the US over the next several days, and these storms are set to bring heavy snowfall, ice accumulation, and even some thunderstorms to a wide range of areas. Places like the southern plains, the Gulf Coast, and the southeast are going to get hit hard, which is a pretty unusual situation for this time of year in those regions. On top of that, the Northeast is bracing for a much bigger winter storm than initially forecasted. This one is set to hit within the next 48 hours, and it's going to bring a lot more snow than anyone was expecting just a couple days ago. So in today's video, I'm going to break down all the latest updates on these two storms, what's changed in the forecast, and what you need to prepare for if you're in their path. Let's start by looking at what's happening right now. At the moment, there's a steady stream of moisture riding up from the Gulf of Mexico and moving into the southeast. This is already sparking showers and thunderstorms in areas like central and northern Florida. And there's even a slight chance for an isolated tornado tonight or early tomorrow morning. There's just enough wind shear in the atmosphere to create that tornado risk. So if you're in those areas, it's something to be aware of. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button like this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Meanwhile, up in the Northeast, we've seen some scattered showers and light snow across northern New England. Right now, this is more of a quick hit winter weather event. Nothing too disruptive yet. However, that calm is not going to last long because starting tomorrow, a significant nor'easter is expected to develop. The storm is going to rapidly intensify as it moves offshore, and by midday tomorrow, moderate to heavy snow will start falling across parts of northern Virginia, Pennsylvania, and northern New Jersey. This is going to be a fast-moving system, but it's expected to pack a punch, dropping heavy, wet snow that will pile up quickly. The National Weather Service has already issued a slew of winter storm warnings, watches, and advisories across the country. Winter storm warnings are currently in effect from eastern Kentucky through Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey, extending into much of southern and central New England. Winter storm watches are also up for parts of Maine and New Hampshire. What's even more unusual is that we now have winter storm watches in effect for parts of southeast Texas, southern Louisiana, and Mississippi. Let me just say, it's incredibly rare to see winter storm watches issued along the Gulf Coast. This is shaping up to be a historic event for those areas. For the Northeast, snow is expected to begin tomorrow afternoon, with the heaviest snowfall occurring through the late afternoon and evening. By the time all is said and done, most areas from northern Virginia to southern New England can expect between 4 to 8 inches of snow with some localized spots, like northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and western Massachusetts, seeing as much as a foot. If you're in Boston, the snow will arrive tomorrow evening and could be accompanied by some freezing rain, especially closer to Cape Cod. Overnight, the snow begin to taper off in New England, but lakes of snow will kick in around Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, bringing another round of heavy snowfall to parts of northwestern Pennsylvania and western New York. Once the storm exits, it won't be long before the next one arrives. Late Monday into early Tuesday, another major winter storm will begin developing along the Gulf Coast. This system will be fueled by two key ingredients: moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and energy from the Rockies. As these two systems collide, we're expecting a rare winter storm to form in the southern plains, bringing snow, sleet, and freezing rain to parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Cities like Houston and New Orleans, which hardly ever see snow, could end up with measurable snowfall. Current projections show Houston getting between 1 to 3 inches, while New Orleans could see anywhere from 3 to 5 inches. By Tuesday night into Wednesday, this storm will continue to push east, impacting parts of Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Snowfall totals in these areas will likely range from 2 to 4 inches, but some localized spots could see higher amounts. Even northern Florida, including cities like Tallahassee and Jacksonville, could see a mix of snow and freezing rain. This is going to create extremely hazardous travel conditions, especially since roads in these areas aren't treated for winter weather. Schools and businesses may close. So if you live in these regions, plan ahead for disruptions. As we move into Wednesday, the storm will continue its trek up the East Coast, bringing snow and ice to the mid-Atlantic and possibly even parts of the Southeast. By Thursday morning, most of the precipitation will have moved out, but not before leaving behind widespread impacts, including power outages and travel delays. Now let's talk snowfall totals for the Gulf Coast Areas like Houston are looking at 1 to 3 inches, while central and southern Louisiana could see 4 to 6 inches, with some isolated spots nearing 8 or 9 inches. Southern Mississippi and Alabama are likely to see 2 to 4 inches. In northern Florida, it's going to be a sharp dividing line between snow, ice, and rain, but cities like Tallahassee could see up to 2 inches of snow, while Jacksonville may get a mix of ice and light snow. Along the East Coast, we're expecting 3 to 6 inches of snow for much of the Carolinas, with higher amounts possible in the northern parts of the states. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, areas like Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Massachusetts are looking at 4 to 8 inches, with some spots potentially exceeding a foot. Let's talk about the snowstorm that's about to hit the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. We're seeing off and on snow showers through parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and up into upstate New York today. Now, these snow showers are going to be pretty widespread, but one of the things we need to watch is lake-enhanced snow. So places like Buffalo and areas near the Great Lakes could be looking at heavier snow totals because of that. The snow won't be super intense everywhere, but if you're in these areas, expect some decent snow accumulation by the end of the day. Meanwhile, to the south, we've got some heavy rain moving into places like the panhandle of Florida, as well as southern Alabama and Georgia. And get this, there's actually a marginal risk for isolated severe weather today. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything too widespread, but we could see some strong thunderstorms. So keep an eye out for those warnings. The potential for severe weather might not be huge, but it's definitely there. Costa Rica. Now, once that blob of rain clears the East Coast, the real action begins. The big story we're tracking is an Arctic blast that's about to move into the U.S. This cold air is going to meet up with leftover moisture and energy, and that's when our next major winter storm is going to develop. The low pressure system is going to start off in the south and gradually push its way north. So we're looking at snow showers starting to impact Little Rock by around 1 a.m. Sunday morning. From there, the snow is going to gradually get heavier and start spreading into Memphis, Nashville, and up toward Lexington, Kentucky. This is going to be a slow-moving storm, so the snow will be on and off throughout the day. As the storm develops and that cold air sinks deeper into the south, it's going to bring some pretty intense snow, especially in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. The heavy snow will be moving in by Sunday morning, and by 10 a.m., it's going to be snowing heavily in places like Pittsburgh, Charleston, West Virginia, and even stretching into Washington, D.C. Here's where it gets tricky. The snowstorm is going to meet some rain along the I-95 corridor, areas like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York City are going to have a tough time because it's going to be a sharp rain to snow line, and we're not sure exactly who will get which. You could see heavy snow in some areas and rain or a mix in others. But overall, we're looking at some significant snow totals, especially inland. I expect a general 3 to 6 inches of snow across much of the Northeast, and a few isolated spots could pick up 4 to 8 inches, especially as you get further into Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. For areas like Boston, New York City, and Philadelphia, you'll likely see totals on the lower end with just a couple of inches. But places further inland are going to get slammed with heavier snow. And I want to emphasize this isn't just a light dusting. The snow is going to come down fast and heavy, so there could be major travel disruptions, particularly in New York City, eastern Pennsylvania, and parts of New Jersey. Thankfully, this storm will happen over the weekend, so it won't be as chaotic for commuters, but come Monday morning, things might be a little hectic. Here's a big kicker. The cold, once this snowstorm clears, an Arctic blast is going to settle in, and it's going to be some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in years. For places like eastern Ohio, temperatures could drop to 3 degrees by Wednesday. In central Pennsylvania, we're looking at lows right around 0, with parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine potentially seeing lows in the I-10 degree range. That's actual air temperature, not wind chill. Ground, trust me, with the wind. It's going to feel even colder. For those of you in places like Cincinnati, you're looking at a low of about 3 degrees Wednesday morning. Over in Indianapolis, it's going to hover around 8 degrees, and Chicago is probably going to see lows close to 0 or even negative 5 degrees. Okay, for areas in the Dakotas, Minnesota, and South Dakota, negative 20s for lows, with highs only reaching around 1 in some of these areas. So yeah, we're talking about a major Arctic blast, and it's not something to take lightly. But while that cold is a huge story, let's not forget about the big winter storm hitting the south. We've got a powerful system developing in southeastern Texas, and it's going to be one for the books. An Arctic air mass will be sliding down from Canada and colliding with Gulf moisture. And that's going to spark a storm system that'll start off as rain and snow for places like Houston and Dallas. But it doesn't stop there. This system is going to spread freezing rain and snow as far south as the Gulf Coast. I'm talking about snow in places like New Orleans and Mobile, and yes, even the beaches of Texas. This storm is going to bring a combination of freezing rain and snow, especially as we get into Tuesday night and Wednesday. The Carolinas will see some heavy snow, and it's even possible that we'll see freezing rain in places like Tampa.
Yeah.
You heard that right. While it's not likely to happen, it's definitely on the table. And if this happens, it's going to be a huge deal. The South is simply not built for this type of winter weather. These places don't have snow plows, salt trucks, or the infrastructure to handle snow and ice. So if we took significant snow or ice, it could cause major travel disruptions and power outages. In fact, I think Louisiana, parts of South Carolina, and North Carolina could get hit with heavy snow, ice accumulations, and possibly even an ice storm. So we're looking at a pretty solid chance of seeing significant winter weather in areas like South Louisiana, the Gulf Coast, and parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. If you're in these areas, get ready now. Make sure you've got a generator, stock up on supplies, and have a plan in place in case you lose power. This is the kind of storm that could knock out power for days, and with that cold air coming in behind it, things could get pretty uncomfortable if you're not prepared. So yeah. Things are looking intense. The storm is still a few days out, and there's time for the forecast to shift a little bit, but the signal for a major winter storm in the South is still very much on the table. And let's not forget about the potential for ice. We could see a rare southern ice storm, the likes of which some areas haven't seen in decades. Here's a look at the European ensembles showing the probability of seeing more than 3 inches of snow on the ground by Wednesday, January 22nd. Areas in South Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama are in the 60-70 range, which is insane when you think about it. Some of these places rarely see that much snow, and if it does happen, it could literally shut things down. So if you're in those areas, prepare for the worst. All right. I think that about covers everything for now. If you're in the affected areas, make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates. I'll be back with another video tomorrow, and depending on how things are shaping up. So stay safe. Stay prepared. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.